Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started with talking about our topic for the week. So today I actually wanted to talk about diet and training during your period and how to optimize it. And I want to talk about this because a few of you reached out to me and, some of you were having a little issues or some of you were a little bit worried about it. And so I want to actually talk about it so that all of you can understand what exactly is happening to our bodies during that point in time. And also so that you're not the only one. Literally every single woman is going through that. So I think it's best that if you are able to, if you're able to, everybody can understand. Okay, I see some of you aren't able to join for whatever reason. Let me try again. Hey guys.
Hi.
How are you guys doing? That link clearly worked better. I don't know why the first one didn't work. That's weird. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started because I'm not really sure exactly how long what I'm going to talk about is going to take. If you are watching the replay of this, go ahead and skip to about 5 minutes in. I think that would, so you don't have to sit there and watch me just sit here for about 5 to 10 minutes. So first things first, next week is our last call. The only thing with that, obviously we always do them on Thursdays, but next week I'm actually going to be flying and I don't know exactly when I'll have access to the internet again. So I want to have our last call next Wednesday at the same time, Wednesday at 7. Let me pull up my calendar really quick. My phone is dying, so I hope it lets me do this. So that was yesterday. Next Wednesday, the 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to do our last call. And then I don't have the sheet pulled up, but I believe, do I have all of you checking in next Thursday? I don't remember.
I don't think so. I thought it was this week was the last one.
This is the last one? Okay, okay. I might have you guys check in next week. Because that would be your 5th check-in next week, wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's have our call on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, but then I want all of you to check in one more time next week, okay? Does that sound good? Okay, so let's go ahead and get into what we're going to talk about today. Today we're going to be talking about diet and training during your period and how you can optimize it. And I wanted to talk about this because a few of you were having, some of you came to me having a few issues with you, and some of you were just asking questions around it. And I obviously work with females, so it's always a big question that comes up for my clients, at least within the first or second month of me working with them. So that's why I really want to talk about this. And the other thing is that I want you to know that I know it can be jarring sometimes seeing the scale go up right away, but I'm going to talk about that and why that happens. But I want you to know that you're not alone. Literally every single female goes through that, literally. So it's normal that happens, but I'm going to tell you a few things that you can do to kind of combat that a little bit. So pretty much today, the biggest things that we're going to be looking at are the two phases of our cycle and the two hormones that play the biggest role within the cycle. So the first is the phases, and we go through two phases. One is the follicular phase, which is the first half of the cycle, and then we have the luteal phase, which is the second half of the cycle. And the luteal phase officially begins once ovulation occurs. And we're going to circle back to these in a little bit, but when I get into structuring your diet and training around them. But I want to talk about the hormones first a little bit. So the biggest hormones that are playing into this equation are estrogen and progesterone. And these hormones in general have a really big influence on appetite and food cravings, even outside of having a menstrual cycle. So, so that's why they're probably the most important hormones to look at when we're looking at a female working out and dieting. Okay, so the science says, and if you want me to send you these articles, please let me know and I can absolutely do that. On average, women tend to eat an increase of about 305 calories a day after ovulation happens, which that is the second half of your cycle, which is the luteal phase. And that's also the 2 weeks that are typically leading up to your period. And this is because of I don't want to say a sudden drop, but a significant drop in estrogen, which has an effect on two other hormone processes, which I'm not going to get into. But those hormone processes are dopaminergic neurotransmission, which is exactly why I'm not going to talk about it, and serotonin synthesis. Okay, so that drop in estrogen is affecting both of those processes, and the result of that is what is thought to be the lead influence on the sugar cravings that women tend to get around, like right before they get their period. So, which makes sense to me because everybody knows I love double stuffed Oreos, so no secret there, but that's why we count macros, and I'm going to be talking about why that's so important. And then the other thing that is happening is the increase in weight, which is what a lot of you have messaged me about. And this is something that a lot of women battle with mentally because, you're doing really well. And then all of a sudden there's this huge spike. And it's mentally, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? So first, before that, the increase in weight is occurring during that transition from the follicular phase, so from the first half to the second half, which is the luteal phase. And that increase in weight can be anywhere from 3 to 6 pounds on average, and it sometimes can even be more than that. But this increase only lasts for a few days, and it's happening because of the increase in estrogen that is happening. So yay for being a female. And once it begins to drop again, that is when your weight will begin to go back down to normal. Now, again, I said I want to be very clear about this and let you know that weight that is happening, if it's sudden like that, clearly it's because of your period coming or it's on its way. And this weight is not fat, it's not muscle that suddenly showed up. It's not you doing everything wrong. That's just how the female body works. It is water retention, okay? And I know that it's frustrating to see that spike, but this is why it's important that you stay consistent with what you're doing so that when your hormone levels start to self-regulate, your body is going to start to self-regulate itself back to normal, whatever that new normal is for you. And again, I suppose it's slightly good news, but you're not alone. And literally every single woman is experiencing the same exact thing. So what does that all mean for your diet and training? I wanted you to understand what exactly is happening so that you can actually have your diet and your training go with your cycle. And it's kind of cool. So anyways, for your diet, I definitely recommend planning ahead for this time of the month, especially if you know that you're someone who craves certain foods or you even have an increased appetite. And this is different for everyone. So it's relative to the individual. So do your best to become self-aware of how you are during that time. So the first thing that I want to say is, because all of you are following carb cycling, during that week where you are having cravings or you feel that you're very, very hungry, you could use this week to give yourself 1 to 2 more extra high carb days in order to satisfy those cravings that you may be having. And this is also going to help you keep dietary adherence and keep you on track towards your goals. Now, all of you have deficit calories. So even on your high carb day, I know you're eating a lot of food, but you're still in a deficit from your maintenance, okay? So even if you wanted to add those extra 1 to 2 high carb days in during that week, you can go right ahead and do that, because you're still going to be on track towards your goals, okay? And then the other thing that I would say to you is that you need to expect a higher average weight that week. And because of this, and as your coach, I won't make any changes to your diet until probably the next week, if you even need it, until your body self-regulates itself again. I'm not personally going to make any changes to what you're doing. And next week, I'm going to actually teach you how to make those adjustments for yourself. And I'm going to tell you now and to not make any type of calorie cuts during that time either. Like, don't think, oh my gosh, my weight went up by 5 pounds. Don't think that you need to cut calories. That's actually quite the opposite. You should probably increase your calories a little bit, because you're probably very, very, very hungry. Okay, so I'll have you all ask questions in a little bit. Now, for your training, actually, do you have any questions as far as your diet goes for that part right now? Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the training aspect of it. So you can actually line up your cycle or your training with your cycle. And so the week of and after your period is actually the best weeks and the most optimal to be lifting the heaviest and for strength-focused workouts, while the 2 weeks leading up to it, most women are typically tired and lethargic. So the best thing to do for that is to pretty much do higher rep training. So this is what I would recommend. So the follicular phase is the first phase. And then within that phase, you have early and late. Okay, so the first week, second week, and then same thing with the luteal phase, early and late, third week, fourth week. And then it starts all over the next month. So within the early follicular phase, which would be week 1, I would do heavy strength focused 6 to 8 rep range workouts. Okay, so basically the workouts that I have given you, add all the weight and have it be so that those 6 to 8 rep ranges actually heavy and hard. Okay, and then you're going to move into week 2, which is the late follicular phase. Week 2, you can add a little bit more volume in your rep ranges, so the 10 to 12 rep range for each of your exercises. And this is going to be still, you're focusing on hypertrophy and building that muscle, but your volume is going to be just a little bit higher. And I have this all written down for you so you don't have to memorize it. And then within that third week, the early luteal phase, you're going to focus on progression from the previous week from what you did. So you still want to stay in that 10 to 12 rep range, but this is a great time to push your strength and see how much if you can hit that same rep range, those numbers with higher weight. That would be a great time to do it. And then you get into the late luteal phase, which is week 4. And that is when you would really want to drop your weight and the volume and consider it a deload week, and basically do extremely high volume. So you're going to get into rep ranges of 15, 20, 30, 50, burnout sets, like doing like 200 abductors. Like that's a great, think very high rep like that, lightweight, high reps. So that would be great in the week 4. And then the next week you can start it all over again. Okay. That is really what I wanted to touch on, mostly so that you can understand what is happening and how you can kind of tailor your diet and your training around what is going on. Because I know sometimes and I'm sure you feel like you have higher energy some weeks and some weeks you don't. And a lot of people actually fail to look at their menstrual cycle and realize that your energy has a lot to do with that. So is there any questions on anything that I just said? Okay, perfect. So if there are any questions, I am going to give you the PDF for this as well. And I haven't sent out the PDF on intermittent fasting. I'm still trying. I couldn't, something happened to it, and I think I deleted a part of the page because it's not making sense to me. So I have to rework that, and then I'm going to send that out to you as well. And then the last little bit of a reminder, we're going to have our last phone call next Wednesday. And I do want all of you to check in one last time next Thursday, and I'll send an email with that information. Do you have any questions about anything in general, not regarding to anything I talked about, but anything in general from this past week? Okay, that is all I have for you today. Short and sweet, super simple. Next week, I'm going to be talking to you about how to make adjustments to your diet when it's called for. So that's going to be very important, especially for those of you who I haven't changed. Some of you, your diet hasn't changed. Like there was just no need for me to change it because obviously what you have is working. But at some point, you are going to reach a point where you are going to need to make those changes. And that's what I'm going to talk about next week on our phone call. So I think it'll be really beneficial for those of you, for all of you to hear it. Okay. And then some of you have been sending me your pictures. I'm super proud of your progress so far. I love it. I love seeing the work that you're putting in. And I want to thank you all for your kind words. It's very motivating for me to continue to want to give to you. So I appreciate all of it. And I appreciate all the work that all of you are putting into. But if nobody has anything, then I will email this, or I'll put this in the recording in the group chat, and I'll email everybody with what to expect this upcoming week. And I will talk to you next Wednesday.